Hello, hello, hello. It is Faith Over Fear, Overcoming Addiction, episode 6.
Six.
And Amanda has titled this one. Amanda's entitled. No,
Not at all.
Amanda titled this one Change Can Happen. And I have no idea what it is. So this should be fun.
You know what? I mean, it is going to be fun because I've had such a long week. I'm really
I can tell you're
exhausted.
kind of drained.
Yeah, I'm very drained. And so I don't even know if that's really what we're going to be sticking with. But I mean, the whole thing is about change, too.
You don't get how this whole podcast thing works, do you?
No.
Yeah, like there has to be way more preparation. You can't come up with a title and the content and then go, yeah, let's just change it.
Well, I'm not going to try to
works.
change it or anything. It's just, yeah, I don't know if that. I don't know. I'm tired. It's been a long week. Like really, I was fine most of the week and everything, but there was just like this one point today where I'm just like, "Ugh." And that's how I'm feeling right now.
Really?
But I'm not drinking. That's the main thing, because that's one of the things that we had talked about last week. Where is there a bird? Oh gosh.
I don't have world's smallest violin, so that's what you get as a trombone.
Nice. Anyway, it's been a long week, and it's like that's one of the things, the roadblocks and stuff that we talked about before is like, when you're really tired, and maybe that wasn't on my list, but I would even drink when I was tired because, that immediate rush and, that energy that always, fizzled, obviously, and then felt worse than I did when I went into it. But yeah, I can look back at this week and be like, I really did a lot.
Yeah, I know you've been working hard.
And I'm going to try to enjoy the weekend, do something.
Well, I don't have flag football anymore, so that is
so excited.
Yep, I love being blessed enough to coach our son's team. However, it's gonna be nice to have weekends, especially because of the last 2 weekends, because with all the makeup games from all the rain outs earlier and everything, it's been a nightmare. And there's so much video editing I have to do. So Amanda's like, right before we started, she's like, I didn't see all the little snippet videos and stuff that
I did not say
I'm used to seeing all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I haven't had a chance to edit all that stuff yet. So
that was my nice little, honey, what's going on thing. And but I didn't, but I also haven't been on, Facebook very much this week either. So I didn't know if I missed it.
Well, nobody was on Tuesday or whatever day it was.
It was Tuesday.
Right.
I was getting my hair done and getting my hair did.
I knew you couldn't resist saying that stupid thing. I was like, oh, wait. There's way more time that's passed since she normally goes back and says that stupid thing. And then no.
Does anybody else say that, getting their hair did? I mean, well,
so you're dating yourself.
That goes along
so long
with
ago.
the creek and the crick for me. It's a crick. That's
no, it's
one
not.
of the things we argue
about. It is
about.
not, or it would be hide and snick. Nobody plays hide and snick.
You know what? I'm sure somebody out there might play hide and snick.
No. Well, if they do, it's a bedroom game probably. But anyway,
that's another
moving
podcast.
right along. So on that sinful note, should we get into prayer?
Yeah, and I'm excited that you're going to do it, right?
Yes.
Yay.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to reach people in this way that is not only fun for Amanda and I, but educational and therapeutic. And we just really appreciate the opportunity that you've given us so that we can use this format to reach people and help them through their struggles in addiction or being a loved one of an addict. And we pray that you would help us reach at least one soul that we can help this evening, and continue to bless our family and give us these opportunities to reach other people and help them in their time of need and struggle. And it's in your son's precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I was wondering if you're going to try to
No,
say what I'd
you
say.
stumble over it every time. I'm not even going to try.
Your most precious and perfect sons. Yeah, something like that.
That's exactly what you got it right that time because you weren't saying it for real.
Well, it's kind of hard. Have you ever been in the middle of a prayer and you're like, I have no idea what to say next?
Yeah, that normally so I almost got there just now, but it normally happens like when I'm praying in my mind as I go to sleep, as I start to fall asleep, and then I just fall asleep mid prayer. That happens more often than not.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that you've probably seen that. You have seen that meme where it says, "Have you ever had a baby fall asleep in your arms?" I mean, that's just because I used to feel bad about trying to keep myself awake while I was praying. But it's just like, you're comforted by God and, you fall asleep. That's fine.
Yeah,
Fall asleep by praying.
I've never, well, I can't say I've never felt bad. I think I felt bad, once upon a time, but then I'm like, oh, whatever. I mean, he knows I was talking to him. I guess, I guess everything was good because he let me fall asleep. And a lot of times I have a hard time falling asleep. So
I will tell you this little tidbit that you probably don't know about me. There's lots of things that, I just don't tend to tell you. But when I wake up in the middle of the night or I have a hard time getting to sleep, I always pray, dear God, please, give me rest, give me peace, let me fall asleep. And every time I've fallen asleep.
And that's when he picks you up and carries you into our son's room, and the dog goes with you so that my son and I and the other dog can hang out in the bed.
Or I start talking in my sleep, which
you fall, you scream.
I found out.
Don't talk about other noises
from our son. Like apparently I go like, and then I start snoring.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fine with letting the world know that I snore. It's not an every night thing though, is it? Maybe it's an every
I think
night
most
thing.
nights that you accuse me, you've actually woken yourself up snoring.
I would tend to agree with that. Yeah. But you snore as well.
I don't snort. I snore.
You don't really snore as much as you used to, which is great.
Yep. Okay. So anyway, please talk to me about change can happen. I know it happened for both of us. I mean, once you told me what you wanted the topic to be, I was kind of thinking about it as I was getting things ready. And yeah, there was a lot of change through the process, but please do tell.
You know what's great about, so we're almost 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's in the beginning, it's really hard to fathom that you're going to have something good. And what people might not realize is it is such a process, and it can be very, very, it seemed like it was stalled, it went backwards. And I just had no idea, but I always had faith. That was one thing. It's like there was that one moment, I believe it was like September, October of 2020, when I was like, you know what, this is too hard. And I was like, for a split moment, I was like, let's just go ahead and go our separate ways. But within a couple of minutes, that's when I heard God's voice. We had an argument, which really wasn't even a real argument. It was just, I felt defeated and, blah. And you went next door to your mom's.
Mm-hmm.
And literally I went to my room. And when I say my room, this is like my what has come to be my prayer room and my office and stuff. But I went in there and I started to pray. And I'm like, you know how you say a lot of things in the moment, but you calm down and you're like, what in the heck did I just do? And I don't really mean that. I mean, it happens a lot with people. And when you're in the middle of an argument, that tension and everything. Mm-hmm. But once I had calmed down and I started to pray, I heard a resounding no. Like I can't explain it, but it was just like just like me yelling right now to you if I said no.
Yeah, please don't
That's
scream.
that's what I heard. And it was just kind of like when I was in the hotel room when I woke up like 2-3 o'clock in the morning
And
of the
decided to
16th,
come home.
and where I was just like, I just need to get all my stuff and pack it and just come home. It was the same kind of thing where I heard the no and I'm like, I just need to go back. I need to go next door to where you were. And like, I was like, if we're going to do this, we have to be all in. We can't just, do a little bit here. I'm like, we have to be all in. I'm going to be all in. And you didn't want to talk at that time, obviously. But I said my piece and everything that I needed to do and say and everything. And then, that kind of started the process and changing a little by little every day, uncomfortable with stuff and little by little every day. But from that moment, I just knew that I had to be, all in and, allow myself to change. And I didn't know if you were going to come along for the ride or not. Obviously, we know how that worked out. But it continues to work that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
We continue to work together every single day. And of course, we have our moments, but gosh, we don't really argue gosh, arguing was like something we did a lot.
Yeah, sometimes multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
not really multiple times a day because our habit was that we would argue and then not talk to each other for days.
Right.
And then at some point have meaningless makeup, and
Yeah.
and then just sweep it under the rug, pretend like nothing ever happened.
Yeah. And me, with how my mind had worked, I just figured, we've come together and now everything's okay.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Right. And that's not how I am. Like I would just always deal with it because I knew that that's all I was ever going to get. But as we've talked about previously, I can't stand it when it's just like, I don't want to talk about it. You need to be good with me now.
Yeah.
But
it's so much better now, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. It's funny because I was just thinking about it the other day driving too. I wasn't thinking about this podcast or anything, but I was just thinking about it the other day driving about how nice it is that we fight rarely these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, I would think that everything is a constant change. So maybe it'll all fit in together. Again, we're going to come into my handy dandy Honey Lake book from when I was there and just talk about some stuff. And anyway, I'll just start.
Do you need a light?
No, I think I can actually, do pretty good.
Okay.
Because we'll see.
I have a big, like, high-powered flashlight over there.
Do you? I wrote this down. Step into my world a little bit more, even if I haven't been. Change can and should happen. Oh, I did have change in there.
You looked at that before this.
I did.
Yeah.
I did, but I don't know if all the other stuff is going to, come into it. But so this was the very beginning. This was, May the 22nd. Mm-hmm. So it was my first full day at Honey Lake. And remember when I was writing a lot of this stuff down, I knew things had to change, but I was nowhere near accomplished. I knew I had to put the work in. So all this stuff was I was just like writing it down, hoping that one day my mind, my soul, my body would actually believe this stuff that I wrote down.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 women's issues. Would you like to hear 3 women's issues?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to probably say only 3. All right. Fear, doubt, and insecurity. Did I have any of that going on?
Always.
Yeah.
Part of your attention seeking, I wouldn't even say part, it's probably most of it was insecurity.
Yeah.
No matter how many times you were beautiful, told you were beautiful, hot, all that stuff by anybody, it was never enough.
Yeah. And I remember always wanting to be the center of attention. And I don't know how to word this. Now I'm only for you,
Mhm.
and how it should have been from day one of our marriage, only for you. But it's like I would feel insecure if I saw another man and woman in what seemed to be a very good relationship where, he was doting on her or whatever. It's like I felt jealous of that. And I kind of wanted to be the center of attention for that person. Not like that person, but have that same feeling that, what I assumed that he and she were giving each other. It's like you weren't enough.
I know. I mean, I'll go back to that time on the tour bus. You
I don't know if we've talked about that before.
Yeah,
Here.
we briefly touched on it. So, we used to go to, and we've talked about this before too. We used to go to concerts all the time, and like multi-day concerts. So Livestock, we're here in Florida. Livestock would always take place in Zephyr Hills, I think,
Yep.
Tampa area.
Yep.
And we would go all the time. It was actually one of our first like date things where we heard that we were both interested in each other, and I was so jacked up and wasted that she kind of didn't want anything to do with me.
No.
But on one of those, and I don't even think it was, I don't know if it was that or if it was BFD, but anyway, I think it was BFD. It was the concert makeup because they stopped with it.
No, it was Livestock because I
Okay.
remember that was the Livestock that we were able to hang out with Aaron from Stained.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was an awesome experience with Aaron Lewis. And at the time, one of his security guards was a center for the Tampa Bay Bucks, and I can't think of his name right now, but he was a cool dude too. But anyway, we're on this tour bus, and
it was Tantric, right?
Yeah, it was Tantric. And I'm sitting next to her in the booth. So if you've been on any kind of RV, right, they have the like little dining booth, and most everybody else is standing up and partying and doing whatever. And it's mostly guys, a handful of girls.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the inside of the booth. You were next to me, and you weren't paying any attention to me.
And I was drunk.
And you weren't paying any attention to me, and you were seeking the attention of all the guys that were standing up. And there were two girls sitting across from us that were friends with each other, that at least I gathered that. And they were attractive, but I was minding my own business, not doing anything. And because of how you were acting with the band members and the other guys that were standing up, she thought I was available. So she started like touching me, my leg and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you looked over and got pissed off. And I'm sitting here like, what are you pissed off about? You're doing that? Yeah. Like you don't want to spend any time with me or let anybody know that we're together until somebody touches me.
Yeah. That happened a couple of times throughout our dating.
A lot. Not just a couple. Yeah.
And
lot.
just for the record, nothing came to be with all of that stuff. We left the tour bus and everything. But I mean, the damage was done.
Well, I wouldn't say nothing.
Right?
I mean, you were exposing butt cheeks and stuff like that to get signed. Do you remember all that?
No, I don't completely remember all of it, but I do. I actually don't have them anymore. I got rid of it because it was a bad memory from what I do remember. They had signed my shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 So, it's funny as I talk about it. I mean, those are the things, and I appreciate you leading us into this conversation because that's how a lot of it was. And I was not faithful in the early years of our relationship. However, I will say it's because of that behavior that I was like, F it. I'm going to do whatever I want to do then.
I think it was a little bit of both.
Well, I know me, and I know
Yeah.
what was going through my head. So
Yeah, we weren't really great for quite a while. But for some reason, we kept on finding our way back to each other.
mm-hmm.
Only God knows why.
Oh, great. Now we're going to get another strike because we mentioned a Kid Rock song.
Oh
For
no!
some reason,
I
our
didn't even
episode.
think of that. I didn't even think of that.
So the only thing I can think of is, so just to let you know, our episode last week got a strike from Belarus and Russia from UMG, which is United Media Group or Universal Media Group, right? Which is the big record label and everything. And so that's why we can't stream this right now live into the Faith Over Fear Overcoming Addiction Facebook page that we put together. And I can't for the life of me figure out what the strike was.
I'm gonna have to go back and
So
see it.
it just has to be. I've looked at it.
Oh, okay.
First of all, there's no music in there. I'm smart enough to know that I can't use any music or anything like that because it's copywritten. And I wasn't even at the point that we mentioned Jelly Roll. We talked about Jelly Roll last time too.
That's right. We did.
But I even looked that up, and I don't even think he's a UMG artist. But anyway, so that's why we are not streaming live in this episode and probably future episodes for a while until that gets taken care of in the FOFOA, the Faith Over Fear Overcoming Addiction.
I had to ask
page.
him what that was.
She's like, "What's FOFOA?"
What's FOFOA?
It'll catch on at some point, I guess.
Gosh, I dye my hair blonde so I can act ditzy. I'm not that ditzy. And I can make those jokes because I am blonde. Anyway. So, a couple other things. Do you want to talk any more about that? Okay. And I appreciate you that. It's so funny, you know, up until recently, hearing you say that, I don't want to say like too recently, but hearing you say all of that probably would have bothered me because I was still insecure, but now I feel so secure. And I had to get that on my own.
Mhm.
You know, when I was at Honey Lake, you know, I had counselors and everything saying that as well. And of course, I mean, that makes you feel good. That pretty much, hey, you're looking great. You're beautiful. But I don't need it anymore. I don't need it from other people. I definitely need it from you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just nice not having that, you know, rumble in my stomach and that fear of, well, I've got to make sure that I'm going to get attention from somewhere else. And, you know, I can hear you say that and not react like I did before.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. We talked about that probably in the second or third episode. It wasn't that long ago, and you were defensive then. You weren't as open and as accountable as you just were now. Because I mean, that was a bad experience for me that clearly has never left me, right? Because when you like shot a look to that girl and she immediately like pulled back, she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, from the way she's acting, I didn't think you were together." I'm like, "Yeah, me either."
Yeah, I don't completely remember all that stuff. It's so crazy. I love the clarity that I have now. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I had a long week that I'm not that defensive or something. But no, it's like
I like this side of you. I get tired of the constant defensive,ness, which is a lot better than it ever used to be.
Thanks. I'm glad you clarified that. All right, what else do I have here?
So this is your journal that you
This is my journal. Yeah. So we are taking over God's business when we try to fix someone else.
It's interesting.
You know,
did you get that from a class or is that a thought of your own? I not a class, but like a session there. Or something.
Somebody had to have said it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is in the very beginning. This is from May the 23rd, a couple days in. And, so sorry, my throat's bothering me. We are taking over God's business when we try to fix someone else. I think that's one thing that happens a lot with addiction. If maybe coming from the person that doesn't have the addiction, if I do this or if I do that or if I do this, not to say that some circumstances or actions might help. I mean, some might, but at the end of the day, it wasn't your problem to fix me.
Yeah.
And I learned that. Now, I think that there could have been some different actions that maybe I would have sought help a little bit earlier, or maybe, but everything worked out exactly how it was supposed to. And it was just like I had mentioned before, a domino effect, boom, boom, boom. And, I don't think looking back now, if you would have done anything different than what you did, if we would be where we are today. And really, just like it says, hopefully, and I'm not sure how much you prayed, and really you had said that you were done. So probably didn't really have a whole lot of prayers coming from you for me at that time.
That's not true.
Oh, okay.
No. I prayed, that I would figure out whatever. I would always ask for a sign all the time because I know what my mind wanted to do, but I didn't know what God wanted me to do. But I prayed that even if we weren't together, that he heals you.
Thanks.
Because our son needed that.
Yeah.
So did you.
Yeah. But that can go into play for anything. We are always around people, in our business. We have a lot of different personalities and circumstances that happen. And we tend to try to fix stuff ourselves. And
well, it's the nature of our business as realtors. Half the time we're freaking therapists.
True. And but now I can double charge.
Yeah.
Well, almost. Not yet. Just a few more credit hours. But yeah, I wanted to mention that. How about this one? This was on the 23rd of May too. Our happiness is about perception. We need to train our brain. So there was a story. Hopefully I get it right. There's a story of a woman. Just kind of imagine you not waking up as a woman, but you wake up in the morning, you had a good night's sleep. The shower was just the right temperature. The coffee was amazing. The sun was shining. You were just in the best mood ever. And you're driving to a doctor's appointment. You're going to see your doctor. And there's a spot right in front where nobody is, for you, for sure.
Oh, for
nobody
me.
is next to you at all.
Yeah, I'm a freak about people being able to park next to me.
Yeah. But so you see that spot, you're right on time, and then you go to pull in and somebody takes your spot. And so now
that never happens in Florida.
Never. So now you have to find a spot, and the only spot that's available is, couple of couple of rows, couple of rows away, because you're very particular when you park. And so now by the time you actually walk into the doctor's office, you're a couple minutes late when you were right on time. And you would have been right on time because we know, if you're right on time at the doctor's office, the doctor's going to be right there waiting for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how we don't get any money back when it takes them 30 minutes to see us. But if we're 1 minute late, they want to charge us $150 for a missed appointment.
Yeah, true. So anyway, so you walk in and you're like 5 minutes late now or so. And the receptionist is very moody. Like, well, you're going to have to wait another half an hour, 45 minutes because he took the appointment that you were supposed to have, that person that came in got in there before you, right?
Oh, wow.
Right? You had this beautiful day. And you're trying to say, you know, blah, 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 because you have other stuff that's going on that day, but this receptionist is being very rude to you. And, you know, you have the ability to take on all of that, you know, emotions from the other person and choose to be, you know, I'm trying not to cuss or anything,
well, I mean,
but not to be pissed off. Okay. To be pissed off and ruin your entire day, or at least the morning or whatever. Or you can just, you know, whatever, you know, I kind of look at things like if I'm not getting somewhere at a certain time, or if something kind of derails me, that there was a reason behind it. God knows, you know, for some reason, I don't know yet, but God knows a reason why. But you can choose to, you know, your perception.
So I'll have you know, we haven't had a chance to catch up yet because we've both been going full force all day. And the first time that we really saw each other this evening was when you came into the studio to do this. But first of all, what you described is never me. Never like that. But anyway, today my day started with a lazy, egomaniac, unprofessional real estate agent lighting me up because I asked that individual to completely fill out the contract form, and then I will submit it to the seller. And of course, he lit me up and told me how many deals he's done, how many properties he sold. And I said, I'm well aware that you're a top agent. That's why I was so shocked at the unprofessionalism of your incomplete contract.
Good one, hon.
And so, but I didn't let it bother me. He told me that that I was making him feel like he ought to just deal with my broker. And I said, here's my broker's number. Give him a call. I'd love to know what he thinks of your contract.
Wow.
So
did
I just let it roll off. First of all, I've had previous dealings with this person. And I already know that he's an egomaniac. Actually in our same system, which is surprising because the culture escapes him.
Ooh, okay.
But anyway, yeah, I just let it roll off. I got out in front of it, sent the entire communication back and forth, his emails, my responses, all that stuff to the broker, so the broker would be armed with it.
What transpired, if anything, yet?
Still waiting on an answer from the seller that I have a hard time getting a hold of.
But did you get the full contract?
Oh, no. No. No, but that's fine. But I got everything submitted and, first thing this morning and all that. And, but most of the time I would let that eat at me all day, but I'm just like, you know what? I was
just going to say,
you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're unprofessional. He tried to attack me for being unprofessional he called me unprofessional for asking him to correctly fill out the contract. I'm sorry. That's the exact opposite of unprofessional.
Excuse me.
But anyway, so
I was just going to say that you would let things fester for so long. And that's one of the things that what I remember a lot of the arguments that we had is something completely separate from home. You would come home from work with it, and we should take a check mark for how many times a week we have situations like this or that sound a little bit, similar in the business that we have, because you can have a successful week, but your emotions just are messed up at the end of the week because of all the things. And, you would come home and it would still be there on you, right?
Yeah.
And you would take that out on us. And you don't do that really much anymore. It's very, very rare. Still happens a little bit I don't even know,
Well,
right?
recently I've been accused of that, and it's your interpretation. I wholeheartedly disagree. Like, if the kid needs to be reprimanded, it's not because I'm pissed off at something else that happened during the day.
Well, how many times have we gotten into an argument, or anybody out there get into an argument over one thing and then something else gets added into the mix, and we haven't even fixed this
But
one thing yet? And
but
that's what I learned to do
but we've
is
been pretty good about
neutralize.
that ever since we went through our counseling. That whatever the fight is about that.
Right.
You're not allowed to bring in the past or any of that crap. And
Yep.
we've been pretty good about that ever since. And it's been
Yeah.
2 years since we've been to counseling, or
Well,
longer.
and another thing is like tone is one thing for me. You know, I catch myself, especially with kind of like how I'm feeling right now. Um, I catch myself, answering or saying something, but my tone sucks.
Mhm.
And that's not how I feel about whatever I'm talking about. It's just because, the day I'm having or whatever. And it's not directed at you per se. But, your tone and my tone can actually, shift a conversation
Yeah.
into an argument.
Mhm.
Yeah, but you've been really good at that. I mean, it happened just right before we started the podcast. It did. And I called you dude. I'm like, I can't
Yeah.
hear you, dude. But
Better than
you
the
just
other D
let
word you used to call
you
me.
just let it go. Darling?
Yeah, that's it.
It was darling.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, so it's so funny how this stuff kind of rolls together. Hardship can either make us grow or crumble into dust.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing like failing forward, right?
Mhm.
I would venture to say I don't know of anybody who was successful in absolutely everything they did. Uh think of anybody, Elon Musk. I'm not even going to say that name because it's too polarizing. But anyway, no, I will because I don't care. I am who I am. Donald Trump.
Mhm.
And who else? Tony Robbins and Joe Biden, for that matter. I mean, anybody who's successful has failed at some point. Hopefully, learn from their
And maybe
mistakes,
even currently failing.
and and hopefully, yeah. So never mind. Forget I said that name because they're clearly not learning from their mistakes. But anyway, Gary Keller, right?
Yeah, he's got a great story.
Yep. Yeah, I don't so I would honestly love to know. I don't know the answer to this, but Ben Kinney, right? So Ben Kinney is somebody who his story is just so powerful to me. He was a child that had to live with a parent that was going through things like that. His story is very public, but I'm not going to talk about it anymore. But anyway, he came from a hard childhood, and his success is amazing. I don't. That's the one that I think about, and I'm like, did he fail anywhere? Because it seems like in his story it was just all success. I'm sure at some point that there were setbacks and things like that, but
He probably
it'd be
can't
interesting
whistle.
to know on that. Yeah,
He probably can't whistle.
Well, geez, how did he ever overcome? But yeah, I mean, Gary's had setbacks, fail forward. Oh, what was the one story I heard? I can't think of it, but anyway, I mean, you've heard plenty of stories of people who have gone completely bankrupt, maybe not once, but twice or 3 times, and then finally got it figured out and, stayed on top. But as long as you're failing forward and learning from your mistakes, that's all that matters.
What do you think makes people not give up?
So I know personally, like for my dad, it was the fear of ever being as poor as he grew up.
Using an outhouse.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, having to walk his sister out to it in the dark and things like that. And he was the youngest child.
Oof.
Yep. So things like that, determination, right? Whatever it is that
Grit.
motivates you, it's determination, grit, willpower.
Yeah.
Yep. Or will.
How do you know when it's time to give up though? It's like I will get on a dirt bike again at one point.
Well, because you'll be sober this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that has a lot to
But
do
it's
with
like,
it.
when do you know to it's like, you know what? I tried my best and now I'm just
So
gonna try something else.
I don't think anybody ever gives up. I just think they pivot or they shift into a different direction, right?
Good point.
You look at those people that I talked about. Another one in our company that I have the utmost respect for, the way he came to visit us during the hurricane and everything, is Mark King. Again, somebody who grew up, well, that seems to be the story of Keller Williams, right? I don't know if Gary did, but Mark King did, and Mo Anderson did. They grew up very poor and have become so successful, and those people never forget where they came from, and that's what makes them so powerful, and they care so much about the people that they're around.
And they give back.
Mhm.
You know, there's a lot of successful people out
Yeah.
there that, you know,
Tony Robbins.
they don't give back, or they give back just because, you know, to make themselves look good. These people that we're talking about within the KW system, you know, they really do have big hearts.
But even outside of that, right? Tony Robbins, who was one of the keynote speakers at the family reunion event, he has been, so he grew up in the same in a similar situation, and had I believe it was his stepfather. I don't mean to butcher the story, but I believe it was his stepfather. Somebody came to the door because they knew that they were kind of destitute and knew there were kids in that house that needed to be fed. And when when Tony answered the door, he was just this kid that was just overjoyed because there was a stranger there with all these bags of food and everything. And he said it's the first time he's ever seen the heart of other people and the goodwill of other people. And that always stuck with him. When he went to go get his father or stepfather, I can't remember. I think he said it was his stepfather. He wanted to slam the door in their face and was very rude. And then ultimately ended up, taking the food. But that was life changing for Tony. Go find this story because I just butchered the hell out of it. But
I think you did a good job. I hadn't heard that before.
Go find the story. Well, that's what's so cool to me is you see these gurus and motivational speakers, and it seems like the it thing to do these days, right? But he's been around forever. Shallow Hal got to ride in an elevator with him.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Right. But to know that he came from that. And so what he does now is every year he has a charitable organization where he feeds those in need. And I don't even want to misquote the numbers. I'll put it in the show notes to this episode. But he feeds, I think it's, like over 1 million people now or whatever it is. But he makes sure to do that because of where he came from.
You know what that made me think of is the generational curse.
Yeah.
You can definitely break it. You know, people's circumstances, they're just that in my mind, it's not the end all be all. There's so much. You know what though? Excuse me. It's tough to think that there's something different out there because until I actually opened up with my video, I didn't know that I was going to have any help. Yeah. But there are so many people out there that will help you as long as you give a voice to yourself in whatever situation, right? You know, I myself coming from, alcohol and everything. It's still kind of awkward for me to talk about because I don't really want to tick too many people off because I already have one family member that's really upset with me right now, and we haven't even talked about that. But you can break the generational curse. You just have to be willing to raise your hand and ask for help
Mhm.
because there are more than enough people out there, trust me, that will help you. I'm a stranger to a lot of people who might be watching this right now. I will help you. Just give me the opportunity to help. Just because you came from that doesn't mean that you have to stay with that. And for the people that are in your life, it is so important for you to become a better person for them.
Yeah.
Obviously become a better person for you. But, once I found my sobriety, it's amazing how I can look at myself now and how I thought I did a great job back then when I was being a parent. No, no, not at all. Um, so now my adult girls and, our son, I think are going to have a better opportunity to not keep that generational curse going.
Well, and anybody can break it.
Mhm.
So, and I know for a lot of people, like easier said than done. I get that, we're spewing out words here and people are in these struggles and generational struggles and things like that. So I get that it's not that easy, but it can be done. So my grandfather, my dad's dad, who was always good to me, but was much older by the time I got to know him, right? He was a hard ass with my dad and his brother, and was not a loving person. And thank God my dad's not like that.
Mhm. Yeah, your dad's
My
awesome.
dad's one of the most loving people I know. And it could have been very easy for him to just continue that tradition because of the way he was raised.
And and so, that's how a lot of grandparents, for people our age, our grandparents weren't really the doting kind of type of family members and stuff that
My
we are.
grandmothers were, I know like that generation
Mhm.
tend to, especially the men would tend to not show love. Thank God that's not the case anymore. But both of my grandmothers, my dad's mom and my mom's mom especially, and my dad's stepfather was amazing to me all the time. My dad's dad was too. Um, I just I don't, for whatever reason, I just have more fond memories of my dad's stepdad.
Yeah,
Probably because of
you
all
told
the
me that
smoke
before.
and I mean, and it was a podcast about, alcoholism and addiction. I mean, if I wasn't at daycare, here at a local church, then I might get picked up and taken to my grandfather's house, my dad's dad. And he was a freaking chain smoker. I don't know how much he and his wife at the time drank every day, but my earliest memories, I was going to the Beachcomber, which is, at the time was the local liquor store. And I was going with my grandfather to that liquor store all the time.
Well, and that was back in the day where, you could, I don't know how much they were, but get a couple of bucks from your dad or grandpa and you could go buy some smokes.
Yeah, I
And
didn't
that's
do that.
when we
I'm
were
talking I
younger.
was like 6.
Uh,
But anyway, being able to get through and break through those generational things is amazing, and I'm so happy that my dad wasn't like that.
There's this parent at school when they come to pick up their kids, just huge hug,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, like I thought I hugged our son an awful lot. Um, but it just reminds me to take that moment and like every day when I come, I just give him a big hug. I have to say because I know that they watch this, but my daughters, you know, the mindset, like I had two different mindsets with just the upbringing of our son, right?
Mhm.
How I was before and now. addiction than not addiction. Excuse me. And I see how I love him different. Unfortunately for the girls, you know, they kind of got what they got.
Not
And
so let me just clarify to make sure that my head is around it. Not that you emotionally love him different.
Mhm.
You physically love him different because you're in a different state of mind.
Right.
Is that accurate?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to say this. My mom and I, she was not a very loving person. And whenever I would go to hug her, it felt like forced, you know? And you can feel that. There's some certain people maybe in your life where it's like, oh, I can't wait to hold and grab onto you and never let go. And other people's like that perfunctory. Did I say that right?
I have no idea. I kind of know the word you're trying to say. It's not one in my vocabulary.
It's like an automatic, you know, I'm doing it because I kind of have to. I mean, I love you and I want to, but whatever. So I felt that way with my mom.
Are you talking about when you were younger?
Perfunctory?
Let's forget about that word.
all my life up until she passed away, you know. And like I didn't have certain bonding moments with my girls that I should have had. And it's not that I don't want to hold on to and grab onto them, but I think that I have to work a little bit harder to make it as easygoing as it is for, say, our son. Because now they're in different places in their lives, right? I mean, they're adults. They have a family of their own. And so I missed out on that automatic kind of normal emotional upbringing years. I know I'm messing this up. It's just because I have a whole lot of thoughts in my head. It's like I'm still trying to make up a little bit for those times that I didn't just grab onto them.
So, and we've talked about this previously. I think it's you know, I don't know how to say this and sound like super sweet and sugar coated and all that stuff, but I think it's time for you to stop worrying so much about what you didn't do and do everything you can now. Not to make up for what didn't happen, but to be there 100% authentically for them now.
Well, and I guess what I'm trying to say is I am, you know, trying to do that. I just want to make sure that when they hug me, they don't feel how I felt when I was hugging my mom.
I don't think that's ever been the case.
You know, it's just something that's always in the back of my head.
I don't think that's ever been the case. They're both very loving to you. Of course, everybody has moments, but you know, as far as that goes, I mean, you know, our son, who's considerably younger than the girls are, has moments. So, but other than some kind of spat going on or something like that, which is always short lived, there's always been authentic love and genuine emotion and hugging. I don't think there's ever. I have never witnessed anything that was half-assed when it came to that.
Yeah, I think of like when our son gets older, I'm still going to want him to call me mommy and sit in my lap and give me a kiss on the lips and stuff because we do that. It's like, but
he still calls me daddy and gives me a kiss twice, you know, at drop off. And I told him, because his friends were giving him a hard time. I told him his friends, I'm gonna knock his friends out. Clearly, I wouldn't do that, but I told him that his friends have a problem with me if they keep giving him a hard time, because I want that as long as he's willing to give it.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, the girls and I, we don't peck on the lips, which, you know, how you have that one family member where it's like, oh, like Ross and his aunt or something from, I don't know if I can say it, from a show. Like, oh gosh, don't kiss me. Don't kiss me. Don't kiss me. You know, like some of those certain creepier family members, like, I don't want to kiss you. It's like that moment has kind of passed. But I think that with our son, it will always be that way just because of how, you know, how our relationship is. So girls, we're probably never going to be on the lips, but I mean, hug you anytime. Anyway, I don't know how we got into all
They're
that
pretty
stuff.
open with their emotions with you, though.
Yeah, yeah. So here's where you come in, just a little snippet. So no matter what I was doing there in the very beginning, you were always on my mind, always, always. And as I grew to know and understand myself a little bit more, not like you became a second thought, but I wasn't focusing as much on, how you were going to feel about what I was going through. But this was in the beginning.
Let me just be clear on something. You are never going to hurt my feelings because as you've kind of, described these situations, it seems like you try to let me down easy, right? I don't need that because one, we are where we are today. And two, I knew that was the whole reason you were there. I had been begging for it forever for you to just go get help for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to let me down easy.
Okay. So how do Brett and I honor and comfort each other? That was a huge question. I had no idea how to answer that. How can I honor you when I was so angry at you?
Mm-hmm.
How can I comfort you when you weren't comforting me? That would.
Yeah, I couldn't have answered it back then either.
Yeah. And I didn't. That was all I wrote.
That's all she wrote.
That's all I wrote. So let's see. Compared to the Lord, we have nothing. Might have a super act going on, but that doesn't matter. Those were my words. Compared to the Lord, we have nothing. We might have a really great act going on, but that doesn't matter. Yeah. Have you seen those people that just seem like everything's going really well for them?
Oh, yeah. Make me sick. I want to punch them in the throat.
It could be an act.
I'm kidding.
It could be an act, right?
Because so the first thing that comes to mind with that is John Christ's was it Church Girls of Instagram? It's something like that.
Something like that.
You gotta look that video up. It's hilarious. where they're taking all this time to position their cup with the cross on it just right.
Yeah. Because they have their journal.
Yeah. And about how fake it is, but through the picture and the picture or the video, whatever they're doing on their social, it looks picture perfect. Mm-hmm. But the whole thing's staged, and it's like a miserable process to take that picture.
Yeah, they ruin it for the people where there's actual real moments of that happening. Mm-hmm. Because now we're all jaded, and it's like, that's got to be fake. Where it's genuine.
Yeah,
it kind of stinks. False self-develop. So, okay. False. Self-developing myself into what others think I should be.
I don't want to get all like grammar police on you, but self-developing yourself.
We know that I'm really bad. I have to use.
Couldn't you just say self-developing or developing yourself?
No, but I put it's false. Self-developing myself. Developing myself. Okay, I hear it now. But I mean, this just all rolls into thinking what I should.
No, but what is it?
For
what
others.
Does it say? Developing myself is false.
Self-developing myself into what others think I should be. So, me becoming what I think other people should think I should be. Kind of like what I was doing with you, right?
Right. And as we've talked about before, that was stuff in your head. Your insecurities made you think a certain way that other people didn't think. And so what you felt you had to be was probably, quite honestly, often the opposite of what they really wanted to see from you.
That's a hard pill to swallow. I'm okay with it now. But gosh, yeah.
Yeah, but it speaks to the fact that when we are wallowing in those insecurities, then first of all, we are almost always misled by our insecurities, right? It's overthinking things because of how insecure we are. And so you overthink things to the point that you get this false concept in your head of what other people want to see from you, and it's very rarely the case.
It was exhausting. It really was exhausting. You know. So let's see. I think I have one more. Now this is from May the 26th, and so I haven't really read all this stuff again. It's interesting. You looked straight ahead. Oh, no. This was something we'll have to get into another time. I had this one counselor who was asking me questions. It wasn't even like a real session or anything, but he was asking me what I was really upset about. And I looked down because I knew what I wanted to say, but I didn't want to tell him yet. And when I was actually having an easier going conversation and I wasn't really upset or bothered by the questions he was asking me, I was looking straight forward, straight ahead, right? Just imagine having a conversation, and then that person asks you this one question where you're just like, oh, I'm guarded. Right?
Yeah, the wall just immediately goes
up. The wall
up.
immediately went up. And a few weeks later, we finally did have that conversation, and I was able to tell him exactly. But that's too much to get into right now.
All right. Well, I think we successfully discovered that change can happen.
Yeah, that's a good cliffhanger
be an ongoing
too.
Theme, though.
That'll be a good cliffhanger for the next one. What this conversation was about, because it did have to do with you.
Okay.
And I don't know. Can't wait to hear it. Maybe you'll have to hear it along with everybody else next week. I know, I'm sure we'll talk about it. But yeah, I think we did a good job with the change too. A little bit of anecdotes and stuff as well.
Yeah. So it felt good to have those conversations, and I really appreciate your openness and difference in being able to have that open conversation without being defensive or guarded at all.
Thanks,
because clearly that is one that has never left me. And when you talk about those things in an open way like that, it's a lot easier to finally let it go. So,
isn't it funny?
Yeah. God, there's all these things that get said that I just want to lash out in song. I don't want to get another strike on Facebook, so that's not going to happen. I mean, clearly my voice is so amazing that they think that I'm playing copywritten music, but whatever. So that's going to do it for this episode. Good conversation for sure.
Yeah,
hopefully our transparency helped one of you. And as always, if you need help, you need somebody to talk to, please feel free to reach out either through direct message. If you're brave enough to put it in the comments, that's fine too. But
should I give my email address? Or?
No,
we're not doing. Okay.
You can always reach us through DMs and in the comment section, and we'll have. I'm right now. I'm in the process of researching all of the resources that we feel comfortable providing to everybody. So, and then I would also just end with this disclaimer that we are in no way any kind of professionals. We just felt called to tell our story and hopefully help people that can relate and feel like that there's no hope or that kind of stuff, or that you're alone, because
you're not alone.
We've been through it and we are here for you. So you all have a great weekend, a sober one if that's in the cards for you, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching.